right now gives me a lot more confidence that Weibo can easily challenge that top 4. And top esports, not so much, but already into draft phase. Here we go, Melvin. The Xiaohu LeBlanc Respect ban comes out. Malphite, not available either. No Jace, no Rumble, Orianna. First pick, it's the Varus for JiaQi.
Does mean that Azir is passed over here. Gonna wonder if Xiaohu will look towards that one. There's already a mobile carry on the other side, and as we do see, remember we got first selection. It is going to be that first pick going over to the red side. And now, Wukong locked in. Standard. It's a very solid jungle champion at the end of the day. It's something with a lot of proficiency for Jiejie, so I don't have much to say about that one. But the fact that Azir has currently been passed over is, I think, the biggest thing that's kind of telling right now. Yanara, very high priority ADC, but again, this champion has been on the ban bench pretty much perpetually, and there's just kind of meh. Like, neither of these teams are looking to immediately grab it. Yeah, okay, Jin. Not even thinking about it. There we go.
I think low-key, Melvin, I think Weibo just teased, if you pick Azir, we're going to pick the Ziggs. Like, they flashed the Ziggs because it is a counter pick into the Azir playing the long-range game. Now, the question is, are Weibo going to actually now slam it for Xiaohu? I do not recall if he has played Ziggs games in 2025. I can't imagine.
Just lock in Syndra. It's Xiaohu. Like,
True.
He was best in slot on... Yes, okay, good. I would be very disappointed to see Ziggs over Syndra when we've had this mixed form from him. Get him on comfort, for the love of God. Like, it's a signature champion for a lot of players, to be honest, in the LPL, but for Xiaohu in particular, it's something that is kind of just legendary status with him, as now we get into the second rotation bans, and the important part here is TES can now knock off some of those top laners to give 369 a easier life on Renekton. One of the more senior players in this game, but has not really been looking like it. We've had a lot of 3s rolled thus far, and we do need to start seeing the upper end of that dice if TES want to have a fighting chance to actually, you know, pick up a win this series.
Looking like a senior in other ways, not the good kind, but for Sorry. Nar taken off the table.
Top lane is Unk, I get it.
Yep. Unk is washed, but, you know, maybe Xiaohu can show those hands once again now that he is on the comfort of Syndra. One of the few players that has played Syndra top, by the way, in his career. Legendary stuff back in the days when he was the top laner for RNG. Jarvan and Mbessa taken away from NaiYou as the next line of playmaking junglers for that are kind of filling out that AD role. Top esports might look at another top lane ban, but support role has been awfully silent in terms of pinching other than the Nico, so eliminating the Rakan as a playmaking tool to follow up on the Wukong engage I think is a good call out. Weibo will probably save their counter pick for support and lock in their choice into the Renekton.
I'd certainly hope so. I'm trying to think what of that support pool is really open, and there's nothing that you particularly want to grab. I mean, the only thing you might do is take away the Bard, as it is something, considering you have double mobile carries yourself, you could be a little afraid of, but as you predicted, picking up that Cassante, now the question is, do we see the Kiana currently unbanned? It's something that I think NaiYou really does enjoy to play. I believe when I see NaiYou, the higher the mechanical skill cap on the champion, the more comfortable he seems to be. Trundle is also a potential option that will shred through that Cassante on the dive-in, make it a bit easier, as this doesn't really answer which is which. Could be either the support or the jungle at this point in time, so not going to make any decisions based on that. If anything, buying a bit extra time to think, give them a few more draft options. I don't love the Poppy, considering there's only the 2 dashes right now. Go on.
I was gonna say, if they wanted to take the Alistar for themselves, I can understand you take the Poppy so that you deny the counter pick potential of the Poppy support for Erha, but they go for the Nautilus anyway. But having a Poppy in your grasp makes an Alistar option less ideal and less accommodating for Erha. So instead, he's going to try to find ways to engage from a safe distance thanks to the power of the Solar Flare with this Leona lock-in.
I mean, the way I look at this right now, I don't expect this to be the game that JiaQi gets to recover some of his reputation, because I look at all the tools that Weibo has, and all of them, bar the Cassante, I would say, do not have a nice time if you are Varus. The ability for Wukong to sneak up on you and get that Cyclone going, the long-range engage from Leona really means I would be incredibly surprised if it's not that lethality Varus that we have seen. And if you don't get an Edge of Night early, you will be clowned on repeat. So this is going to be quite important to see where that early jungle pressure goes. Jhin, a pretty formidable laner in his own right, and the Leona, a winning matchup in that support role, just a better statted Nautilus with, you know, the skill issue of being able to miss your ultimate. So I think that the early jungle pathing is going to be very telling for where both teams want to send those resources.
For Jiejie on the Wukong, can easily just prioritize his own self-economy, and similar to how Monkey in the previous series wanted to rubber band his camps and just try to get to level 6 as fast as possible, NaiYou's in a position where he can try and use his agency early on. When you are, as soon as you hit level 3 as Poppy, you get pretty much everything you need. You can play make with flash wall slam off of your E. You could try and set things up and get this Varus rolling for yourself, but I want to see the solo lanes, especially for Top Esports, step up as we hit Summoner's Rift for Game 1 between Top Esports and Weibo Gaming.
Incredibly calm opening. Doesn't look like there's any invades. We do have the typical phase rush start for the Poppy.
Giles, wait.
Let them speak. They fuel us.
All right, there we go.
Oh, nice. Calm on the Rift. As we get an instant invade from NaiYou. I like this. I can't tell if that ward came down before or after the Poppy walked. I would assume before, and this is good information, but we'll kind of be able to tell based on where Jiejie paths after this one.
So far, some decent trading. Oh, nice interrupt from Fengyue with a dredge line, catching Erha out of the Zenith Blade. JiaQi maintaining a sizable health bar here, as NaiYou's in the bottom side camp. He's stealing a red buff. He started on the Raptor Pit. He will flash over the wall because he has Hex Flash. Dude, that's
I
chat.
didn't see if the Hex Flash was active, so he flashed over the Dragon Pit wall to avoid that level 1 ward, and that has left JJ kind of with his pants down at this point. You're walking into your jungle as a farming champion and suddenly realize, oh god, it's all gone. Question is, will these two junglers run into each other? I really like this. It's important when you cross map to make sure you deny the counter collection on your own side. And it looks like instead of recalling and running there,
for
a
Xiaohu.
gank onto Xiaohu.
Hex Flash over the wall, and Xiaohu realizes, oh crap, I found the Poppy. Tries to flash to the protection of Jiejie, but just one more slow for the Hammer Shock, but a great scatter of the weak and allows him to get away. But NaiYou now going to try to contest Jiejie with the help of Creme for his Raptor camp. And Jiejie cannot stay for long because he had to bail out Xiaohu, but Erha is here, has roamed on over. Creme forced to flash now. And maybe Jiejie does get a chance to snag these chickens after all.
Okay, with support roaming up, this is going to be enough. And Erha actually pulling double duty, trying to secure these resources, which are all important. If the Wukong ends up falling behind, yeah, the ultimate's decent utility, but not exactly what you're picking this carry champion for. He will bail out, though, as... Okay, yeah, look, there we go. We do see in the picture was the flash over the wall. I love it when junglers do this. I think Poppy is one of those champions that just brings out the creativity, something that Peanut really brought into the fold over in the LCK. Yeah. It's fantastic to watch.
Fengyue has found a Wukong in the river, and he just dredge lined in. Thankfully, he'll get the cooldown up a bit sooner. He goes back in, but the clone intercepts it. At least they maintain control of the river for maybe NaiYou to come on over and secure the grab.
And we kind of already have seen Erha getting onto the Rift and being active, but there was a reason that we had that supportal combat graphic at the very end of our pre-show. And it's something that I'm really excited for, because Fengyue on this Nautilus is what I want. I want to see him on a bit more engaged. It's something that gives that player a ton more agency, and in the games where TES have looked more competitive, I think it has been when we've had engage available for Fengyue. I loved his roams on the Leona in one of the previous matches, where they not only got action done mid, but then top lane immediately in the mid game. So far, Erha's got the first strike, but the question is, when will the Nautilus actually be able to get onto that map and punish the flashless Syndra, potentially swing this top lane matchup, which so far has been very quiet from Zika and 369.
You have to imagine that Xiaohu has to be extra careful about when he expends the Scatter of the Week in lane upon Creme hitting level 6, because if that cooldown is gone, Creme will immediately be calling for any nearby teammate to swoop on in so that he can set him up with the Emperor's Divide. Now Fengyue trying to set up a trade onto Erha, loses about 50% of his HP thanks to the aggression from JiaQi. Another arrow onto Elk. And NaiYou's taking these Krug camps. Do they know? Dredgeline misses. Good poke, though.
Okay, this is, at least you know, presuming the base... Oh no, he's not recalling in the bush. They don't know jungle's here.
They don't know. Jiejie's now going to show up, and NaiYou has to pick a target so that he can deter them from going forward. Elk gets pushed in by the slam, the flash away. Not enough as the arrow goes wide, but Elk still survives. A first blood is secured for JiaQi's pockets.
Has flash again.
And NaiYou, oh my gosh, wall slam onto 2. Looks for the hammer shot, gets in range.
Oh, what? The greed! The greed! Oh, no. They got too greedy. There were 2 low HP targets and tried to land the Q on both, but they parted like the seas, dodged to either side, and then nothing expended. Oh my goodness, that was close.
Wow, that is tragic. I have to be very careful with my words here, but man, I was expecting at least one of those 2 Weibo Gaming members to go down to the Poppy, but just not being able to commit on either target there. Let's take a look again at the replay.
And it started off kind of by accident, I would say, for TES, as they were just lucky enough to not know about Jiejie necessarily, but then NaiYou was still in the area, so the counterplay was swift and very well executed. However, it was this moment here, throwing the Q, both credit to Elk and Jiejie to dodge away from it, and then the re-engage to finish off the kill before NaiYou can knock off Elk. Really promising stuff. And seeing Elk on this utility carry is something that it shows a lot of confidence in the rest of the team. He is really the player that when you came into looking at this roster, you would think, okay, chip on his shoulder, not on BLG anymore, mechanical hyper carry, we want to see a lot of resources funneling into them. Going on to the Jhin is really saying, I do believe the rest of my squad can carry, and that's something that I think is really important when you're a player who loves to go in, arguably a bit too much, but, you know, can outplay it 90% of the time. It's just that 10% where it gets real ugly real fast.
Hey, look at that. We talked about it. Scatter of the Week expended. Creme immediately goes in for the Emperor's Divide. Unfortunately for him, Xiaohu just got flash off of that timer. But now the flash is gone once again, so Top Esports going to try to keep track of that cooldown. But back on the point about Elk you were mentioning, I love that you bring it up because I think that first BLG series was a great benchmark for not only Xiaohu, who... okay. I mean, Zika was trying to recall it.
That's a homie stock right there. That's now he said, all right, I see you. I'll help you get back.
I don't think they're going to provide a homie stock to JiaQi in the same way. I think they're just going to send him back to the fountain in a gray screen simulator, and yep. Well, dive for Elk at the cost of Erha's life. Meanwhile, potential engage in the mid lane. Xiaohu still no flash. Fengyue gonna get in range. Is level 6 for the depth charge, but Creme backs off for the minion wave.
So, more seriously, NaiYou was able to secure all 3 grubs off the back of that one. And now we've put 369 in a nice little proxy spot here. We'll have Erha immediately running over, but this is more time where attention is not being paid bot lane, especially with that dragon up. It's something that I'm sure we're going to get a degree of a fight over, whether it'll be a full-blown team fight, as actually Weibo's looking to kill the Croc.
Uh-oh, 369 backing in a very greedy spot in the middle of enemy territory. Has dominance though. Looks to pop Xiaohu. There's still no flash on this Syndra. Jiejie is waiting in the wings. 369, does he get the 1v3 solo? Nope, not in time. Zika flashing forward to guarantee the Croc goes down without any revenge kill.
I mean, 369 doesn't flash. It gets the ultimate. I'm trying to think if they're happy with that. There was a lot of attention paid to the top side, and it does give the window now for TES to start this dragon. I think if they're able to secure it without losing anybody else, gonna call that a winning play for TES, but yeah, it did look ugly, but I mean, you know, the Crocodile bases and gets a full Black Cleaver, so I don't think he's too upset at the end of the day.
Yeah. Not ideal to be dying in enemy territory, but I definitely see the advantage that 369 can still have in this lane setup, especially now that Zika is down a flash. Top Esports will be able to benefit off of the information 4 members were expended to bring down the Croc on the top side and pick up their first dragon of the game.
Now I think we kind of sit in a bit of a lull state, because a lot of these champions aren't strong enough yet without their first items to pull off dives and the like. Funnily enough, it is actually 369 is the only champion on the Rift with a full item in pocket, but without the Dominus, isn't really going to be stepping too far into Zika, which I would say is lucky right now, considering that Jiejie was in the pocket right there if anything were to happen. As I think we should probably just pan over, look at the plates, and try and guesstimate how far we think people are into their quests, because it has been something that has kind of defined how players have acted in the early game, and it's something that I think a lot of engaged support players in particular, as we see Erha taking a walk to mid, has kind of shifted the gameplay pattern. For a good amount of the first week of play, we saw supports kind of reticent to leave lane because they want to keep their ADC in a safe enough position to finish that quest.
Sure.
And so now I think players are starting to feel a bit more comfortable doing the typical support behavior of, alright, I'm going to go jump off to another lane, I will see you in 3 to 4 minutes.
You have so many supports here in the LPL that we always talk about characteristically. Once they get unlocked, they become the best versions of themselves. Meanwhile, top lane, NaiYou is here to make sure that 369 can punish a flashless Cassante. We highlighted it as a possibility, and 369 and NaiYou make a deal on that promise.
It was a nice buffer from Zika to avoid the Poppy ult knockup, but alas, losing that flash to protect his mid lane, a reminder, is going to spell his own doom and get 369 even more of a lead, picking up those plates, accelerating, being the first person on the Rift with the quest.
Oh
Beautiful.
Boy, even through the scatter of the week, Creme is able to time the Emperor's Divide on the right frame, scoops him up for the alley-oop slam from Poppy. Yeah, that's a beautiful setup right there.
When there's no Malphite on the Rift, Creme is here looking pretty good, honestly. Like, so far, much more promising than we were getting in the pre-roll clips, and very encouraging for TES. Now with a second quest in pocket, JiaQi picking up that one is going to start to snowball extra gold, as we see gold leads across the board minus the support role, and I think you're going to be pretty happy with that as TES, as NaiYou once again paying credence up to the top lane, trying to build up this 369 lead, make this Croc unkillable. Something that when you take a look at the Weibo roster and see only one AP threat, does give 369 a pretty good angle to stack up some armor and become a massive nuisance in early fights.
Especially since Xiaohu has been on the receiving end of some pressure himself. A ward reveals that NaiYou was ready to set up a tent for a third visit to Zika's lane. Top Esports' jungler will not get a chance to punish him this time around until his flash comes back off cooldown. So he's just going to take his base. Meanwhile, Erha is making sure that he can get some vision defensively down for Xiaohu and scouting out where NaiYou's future path is going to be when he goes through his red buff quadrant camp rotations again.
Very nice, building up that extra information. I mean, we've already seen NaiYou get the upper hand of pathing in the early game, but Erha was the guy that kind of fixed it for his jungler, looping on over and enabling Jiejie to get in and recover that early deficit. It can pretty much spell death for a farming jungler, which Wukong, he's kind of weird, because he doesn't do good ganks pre-6, but also needs to farm for Triforce, which, in the pocket, Jiejie is now a real scary champion.
But once he has access to Cyclone, he's a pretty darn good champion at setting up plays, and Weibo Gaming do exactly that on Fengyue. Elk is the one that benefits from the kill. Now 2 in his name with the Collector in hand. The fact that top esports don't have a real tank on their side, Poppy picking up the Sundered Sky, means that this Collector is going to have quite a bit of value in this mid-game spike.
Yeah, and with crits returning to 200% damage, there is one guy who really loves that with all 4 bullets in the chamber, as 369 pressuring for a potential solo kill on the tower here.
Not close. Zika still has the ultimate available.
4 people
waiting out
top.
the dominance, and you know what? He will wait out for reinforcements to arrive. 369 still has flash, probably waiting for the scatter of the week. Preemptively flashes it coming through. Xiaohu now might just get punished. 2-man keeper's verdict. Creme in the wings, looking for the sweep. Emperor's Divide cannot get in range quite yet. NaiYou slowing him down with the hammer shock. Their edge line pulls him in. Erha preemptively stuns him with the solar flare. Zika is back, pulls him in with the all out, but can't get him in range of the tower. And JiaQi with a piercing arrow doesn't find its mark. Top esports have control though of this topside river and can look for the Rift Herald in response. And the rest of Weibo, I don't think they can do much about it.
Going off running, silver lining will be that Elk will pick up at least 2 plates in the mid lane. With that dragon spawning though, we see 369 teleport to bot, push in this wave, and secure the other half of the map. Could this be an objective flip? Poppy ult is down. No, not gonna go for it.
Quick bonk of the eye on the back of the Herald into the smite. Rift Herald is secured. 369 will not die for the turret. He's not going to die for the turret, right? 369 doesn't have flash anymore. Dominus is available. There's no solar flare. Xiaohu has unleashed power. Scatter the weak into the stun. Elk with the deadly flourish. All the CC layering into each other beautifully. And Elk gets his 3rd kill of the game. But top esports quick to respond on the map with a mid-turret crush off the Rift Herald crash.
Very interesting pivot, actually. Oh, okay, I was about to say, do we have a driver's license? We do! Okay, NaiYou, are you going to be able to get out of this?
Okay, he has the flash out of the solar flare. There's more action on the Rift here, Melvin. Jiejie pops the first cast of the Cyclone, tries to get in range for another one, dashes in. That sets up the kill on Fengyue, and Elk is on a rampage right now. 4-0-1, curtain call at the ready. 3rd bullet does not hit. This 4th one is not going to do that much, so he's just going to clear the wave. Yep.
Understandable, you know, have a nice day.
Wait. NaiYou, Hex Flash! Run, Elk! Okay, he's out of there.
That was a little spooky, as, now face-checking into Creme. Cut the feed.
Oh, my God.
That's fine, he's doing well, you know, Creme. If that's the worst thing he does all game, I think he's having a good performance. Let's just hope that's the worst thing he does all game.
You know what? That's a good way of looking at it, Melvin, because this has been so far a very, very solid Creme performance on the Azir in this series against Weibo. Fengyue, no flash available on the Nautilus. He's going to try to dredge line his way back to safety. He does clip the wall, but the solar flare locks him down. Another auto attack from Xiaohu. And that is the first kill for his Syndra in this first game of the series.
And that is going to be ever so important. We've seen how difficult it is to kill 369. He can waste so much time just crocking about, really. And so, as we kind of move into the mid-game, we've got the side lanes opening up. The question is, can TES leverage the fact that they traded Herald into mid-tower for that dragon to pressure the map? Because losing your mid-tier one is something that really does change the dynamic of how you're allowed to play. It makes this position dangerous for Elk. If you have the mid-tier one, you're feeling pretty safe walking to the midpoint of the mid lane. But when you don't have somebody around in your pocket, which, by the looks of it, TES are trying to call the bluff now, you can kind of just get jumped on. And so it really does mean that if you aren't playing respectfully, then resources can just bleed out.
I'm always a bit uneasy when Jins go for rapid fire cannon after their first item, because it really does delay your Infinity Edge power spike if you then have to go for a Last Whisper item after. But he's got a Noon Quiver, so okay, yeah, that's right. It does build into Lord Doms on this patch now, so I was a little nervous. I thought my guy was building a shield bow. I was like, whoa,
no,
dude, we need more damage, or we need some armor penetration at some point, my man.
I'm just checking. Okay, I was gonna say for a half minute, I'm pretty sure Noon Quiver used to be, but is no longer a Storm Razor build path. So I was like, are we doing Tickle Monster Jin? Is it back? Do we just have all of the energized procs into 0 damage combo? Something that, much to the chagrin of people who like to see ADCs do damage, but like you said, it will be Last Whisper, most likely to pick up next. By God, I hope it's the Last Whisper pick up next. I wasn't worried about it until you said it.
Please, Elk. I know you're 4-0-1, and you're ahead of the curve right now. Do not chuck it in the bin. We're about a minute and 15 seconds away from the third dragon of the game spawning. Baron is finally up on the rift. Fengyue pops the ghost from his unsealed spellbook.
Damn, he's quick.
And scares, yeah, and he scares, wait.
Rapid fire aura farming that was, as it will just be now the true battle of vision in the river. If we take a pan over all the stuff that's available now to get ourselves ready for what will likely be quite the devastating team fight. Flash is up for everybody except for NaiYou. All backup summoners also in the pocket. So we do have top laners happily sitting on a side lane with the empowered TP ready to pick up that 30% HP shield, which I think honestly is really big for K'Sante, considering that you get the shield when you TP, and then if you go into all out, you'll still have the original shield. So it lets you go for a bit more of an aggressive line on the K'Sante, which is something that generally spelled death for most of the people playing this character, as it will just be 369 forcing the ticket on isolation.
Dominus onto Zika, gets his flash. All out, still available, pulls him into turret range, but there's another fight in the mid lane. JiaQi unloads the Chain of Corruptions on Erha, but they turn on to Fengyue, or NaiYou, I should say. Jiejie with another Cyclone cast right on top of the Poppy, right before the dragon spawns. Great timing from Weibo. 369 did manage to force Zika away from the protection of the tier 2 turret, but top Esports will not be able to contest the dragon.
Looks like Creme going to base as well, but there is some pings around Baron. I don't think TES would to call that bluff, considering they don't have the jungler available. A very important pick. I don't like what you're doing, TES.
Oh no!
You don't need face checks.
Going back into fog! Fengyue gets dropped. There's Creme on a side flank, but I don't think he's in position to actually make that sweep. Maybe top Esports were thinking that Creme and Fengyue at the right moment could pincer simultaneously, but it doesn't happen in the right timing.
And this is really good leveraging from Weibo as we get in the clip to use the Jin Leona to just completely make it impossible to escape. Xiaohu with the TP comes in, gets the collection, and it is all-important kill on the junglers. Now, we have a return to the Rift, some summoners burnt, but not a lot, honestly, which does make a potential for a Baron start. An area where TES could try and swing tempo back in their favor. The gold lead is all but negligible. We're not going to see a soul for at least 10 minutes. And so now it's kind of just about where can we pick up that standing gold? Where can we knock off this crystalline overgrowth? As we see Weibo wanting to pick up this top tower with Xiaohu being shadowed by Jiejie in the back pocket. But now it's a pretty unfavorable looking 2v2 if you think of the damage profiles. But if somebody gets picked off first, then there is real potential for a Baron start.
Whew. Deadly Flourish does manage to snag Creme, but he's too far away for anyone to realistically follow up on the CC. NaiYou shows his face in the bot side river, or I should say top side of this this line brush that they're trying to control on the choke point. Weibo doesn't look for any further punishes. We'll continue to farm up some camps. I want to scope out here for a quick second, Melvin, because in this series, when we were looking at the solo lanes for top esports, we were kind of flagging them as the overwhelming disappointments of the opening week so far, because while the newer pieces of top esports, we understood that there was going to be some adjustment and growing pains as they try and acclimate to a group ascend environment. That shouldn't be the case for 369 and Creme in both of their 2 series so far. It's not been great. However, this first game, this is the most stable we have, or some of the most stable play we have seen of our solo laners for top esports in our first split at 2026.
I mean, stability and top esports are not two things that have ever really gone together. As we do see a play onto the bot side, this can force a bit of that instability in their favor. Just Zika, but TP flank.
He goes all out, but he doesn't have flash available. Deadly Flourish goes wide as 369 and NaiYou dodge out on the CC. A Wukong Cyclone clips NaiYou. Does manage to bring down Zika before he goes down, but Creme has teleported in. Oh, that's Fengyue. He's going to get bursted out. Elp blasts him with the 4th shot in the chamber. JiaQi over the wall looking for piercing arrows. They trade one into Jiejie, but immediately Zika, or I should say 369, does fall.
Okay, JiaQi!
The party. JiaQi trying to unload arrows, looking for another one at Erha. The battle between the AD carries. Creme finally flies in, makes do on the Azir. 3 kills for JiaQi, and top esports finally find their biggest window to leverage in this series against Weibo.
That was just an incredible series of wait a minute, are we going to end this play? Wait a minute, are we going to end this play? And TES never stopped the play. Going to be rewarded with this tier 2 bot lane tower, plates and all. And I think this is just a replay where we're going to need to appreciate looking at the minimap. Because TES go for this play with currently nobody else on map. Xiaohu goes for the long flank TP behind, thinking, oh, good, we're going to pick up 2 free kills in exchange for our humble top laner's life. And then, we get a double TP. It looked like one, but they were so in sync. Instantly in the middle, Fengyue gets bursted, like stated, but it does get Elp to flash after him to collect the Nautilus. Creme puts down the tower to have somewhere to retreat to, and then off to the side, Jiejie kind of 1v9s the fight at the end of it, getting the Chain of Corruption spread over to Xiaohu, collecting them, flashing away from the 4th shot, which gives enough HP to feel confident walking in, and Creme on the Azir goes in, finishes off the play, collects the last bit of gold. That, I think, is the best we have seen top esports this year, without question.
It is hard to step into a role that belongs to JiaQi Love once he is back from break. But JiaQi has been trying to make the best out of this current position and giving top esports the best performances that he can try and muster up in these opening series for Split 1. And that sequence right there. If JiaQi Love comes back and understandably gets the starting spot back, I hope teams who are struggling with an AD carry going into Split 2, Split 3, look at this guy if he's able to continue putting out performances like that.
It's a good start. We saw in the matchup against BLG, I think up until this point, his MF game was his best one. He punished a lot of the most overzealous plays with Viper and whatnot going in and able to collect return kills where I think most people wouldn't see the line to be able to do so. TES will calmly collect this dragon as Weibo look to try and steal some top lane vision. But now we are in a bit more of a even spot. If we take a look at the map though, massively in TES's favor. They have that mid-tier one, even though it'll probably die to a single auto attack once the minions get there. If TES have proper wave control, which so far they're doing quite a good job of, leveraging 5 people around mid, I don't know if that's such a safe TP.
I would have to agree with you, Melvin. The turret is gone, and Xiaohu's the person that TP'd it. Oh no, Weibo Gaming. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks to the BLG series. Top esports are going to benefit off the fact that Xiaohu just gave his life over, and now Baron is an easy prize for them to secure, unless Jiejie can make a miracle happen.
I really like this. We see 369 base TP in, going to have the big shield. That extra bit of buffer room to stand in front, either tanking up the Baron or the enemy team. But this is a pretty slow approach Jiejie can dash in. Poppy ult
Still
goes wide.
4.5k. He dodges the Keeper's Verdict. NaiYou tries to turn, and the Baron resets. They slam Erha into the wall. 369 blows him up. But Zika is about to blow up JiaQi in the back line with the all-out. Jiejie and Elk now trying to reposition and see if they can pincer on the top esports with Zika, but he's way too low on the health bar. But they've done their job. The Baron has been stopped, and Weibo Gaming have bought some time. Xiaohu has now respawned. NaiYou getting chunked by Elk. If he can get a range with another rapid-fire proc, it is the last bullet in the chamber. It will blow up NaiYou. He gets a little bit of HP back off of the Scuttle Crab.
That was close. That was close. And 369 only lives by the good graces of his 30% HP shield there. I was watching him walk away. I was like, that definitely dropped to a quarter HP. It will mean, though, Weibo claim that mid tower. That prize that I was talking about how TES were coveting. It gave them so much potential to go for aggressive plays. Be able to feel comfortable walking down one side of the map and knowing, should they come into competition, they can retreat backwards. Now it's going to put a lot more importance on Creme's passive. These Azir turrets give such favourable terrain to fight around, and I just think that you weren't expecting 5 people to be here. Like, at the end of the day, 3 people, probably still a dangerous TP, but it gives time for Zika to TP in on the flank, goes for the fight after. I think just really good decisive play from TES. Exactly what we want from this roster.
Big thing to note for top esports, JiaQi has his flashback. So, next fight, if there is a flank angle from Zika, it's not going to be as easy of a time to completely take Varus out of the equation. 2 dragons apiece for both teams. Fengyue looking for an engage off of the dredge line. Rest of Weibo do have to respect the position top esports are in, so they give ground on this choke point. Massive scatter of the week on the 2. Flash from the solar flare, and Fengyue and NaiYou are both out of there, but at the cost of their summoner spells. Rest of Weibo now going to try and use the priority of mid-wave to be able to brute force their way back into the Barrenside River.
And with the 2 most important frontliners getting chunked out there, it is going to leave a really scary situation now. If the vision can get scried away, that 1 ward on the Baron is the saving grace for TES. Only 1 control ward left in inventory for the entirety of Weibo, and it is Zika chucked down, not in the Baron pit. That means you can play a bit more slowly as TES. Again, something not exactly characteristic of what we would expect from TES of old. But I think one of the biggest changes that came with this new season is if you get a lead, it's very easy to throw it, because you have to keep trying to force aggressive plays, otherwise that gold gap shrinks very fast. However, bounties still exist. There's a lot of standing gold on the map, so it has made it a lot harder for the winning team. That was something.
Oh, Elk got snagged, but thankfully he was on the other side of the wall, so it's not one that he has to flash away from. It was a good look from top esports. They had punted away Jiejie, so there was no chance for a Cyclone counter response. Erha getting chunked. Solar Flare right on top of JiaQi. Cleanses it. Curtain Call now unloads. 3rd bullet, decent damage, and the knockup from Zika into the alley-oop! Beautiful sequence by Weibo Gaming's top laner and ADC. That is a 5-on-4 advantage now. Baron is a reality for Weibo if they want to start it up.
Dragon is up in 30 seconds as well, so if Weibo don't want to catch that heat, they could go take the safer objective, but instead Elk and 369 face-checking each other?
369 dashes away from the Scatter of the Week stun, does not fall folly to Weibo Gaming's pick. Top esports still trying to hold their ground despite being 4-5. The rest of Weibo Gaming turned their attention into now walking into the Dragonside River, as you called out, Melvin. That is a more important objective and one easier to secure without any contest from top esports.
Do have support respawn. Doesn't look like the spellbook is available to TP in. We see some very light pinging over towards the Baron side from both teams. Not enough to imply, yes, let's run it right now, but it will be Weibo Gaming reaching the soul point. And I think Cloud Dragons, Cloud Soul, historically one that's got a very high win rate. When there's so much gold available on the side lanes, as I'm just going to leave this in the background and we give them the time for Zika's whoop and crisp. That was lovely. Love that. But with so much gold on the side lanes, with these minion waves now spawning every 20 seconds, even just using the Cloud Rift and Dragons to rotate, pick up extra farm, it will close that gold gap and really nicely allow you to continue to accelerate, as we do have Elk, all 4 crit items at 100%, just picked up the GA, incredibly terrifying, and is going to live through a shuffle now. That's, I think, the more important part, having the GA, because any immobile character is in immense fear around a team fight with Creme having this flash on his Erha. It's looking like Xiaohu is the target.
Oh no, Xiaohu. Wall slam. NaiYou times it beautifully over the wall. Xiaohu forced the flash, but Creme will trade to make sure that the mid laner is gone for the next 53 seconds.
That is a beautiful wall to be able to close over, and it's going to be, I would say, Baron, unless Weibo Gaming want to toss it all here. It's going to be very scary. You do have the potential to run around the back of the pit for Jiejie, but it means that you won't have your primary engager with you. It's going to be very difficult to get in here.
Get vision on it. 6k on the Baron. Elk has to set up. Looking to target 369 first. The Dominus occupies their attention for now. Jiejie trying to pick an angle to go for. He dashes into Fengyue, gets hit by the death charge. Baron secured for top esports. 369 gets out. Jiejie almost low. Gets the shield from Zika's Kasante. And the rest of Weibo Gaming's 4-man party do manage to escape with their lives. But top esports secure the prime objective.
Perfect execution from Fengyue. Knew the assignment. Do not let Wukong near the pit. As soon as it was clarified this was not the clone, threw the dredge line out. Got everything. Managed to keep them at distance. It wasn't a kill, but at the end of the day, I think this initial play from NaiYou and Creme was all it was necessary. And it's actually Creme hitting the ward here that I think gives Xiaohu the expectation that he's okay. Was that lingering vision? How did he see him over the wall to do this?
I think it was a minion. I think it was a minion auto attack. That's the only thing that I can think of, because I was also questioning how the hell does NaiYou have vision that he can cast E over the wall. Meanwhile, top esports looking for a pincer. Do Weibo Gaming know that Fengyue is right below them with JiaQi? Elk has to be extremely careful. Still has Flash and Cleanse available, but he does not want to waste these summoner spells when they have Cloud Soul coming up in 2 minutes.
Potential game end angle though, and it's gonna be, I would say, on Creme to not get too overzealous. He has so far played a very good Azir game, rarely been the target of aggression, and managed to survive it all the way through. Does have the stopwatch, as it looks like it's just gonna be a very standard siege. Spell shield down though. Good cleanse.
JiaQi pops the cleanse, still has a flash available.
Mikhail's got used too, though. That was double of the cleanse abilities used. So now, next ability that comes out of a stun, next stat of the week, is an actual stun you need to be afraid of. I suppose unless you're Fengyue, who does have the cleanse in pocket himself, as it will just be rotating over, getting that mid lane pressure down.
A measured push from top esports does net them the bottom inhibitor. Super minions will be constant pressure for the next couple of minutes. Weibo Gaming will have a harder time trying to get into the bottom side river and their own jungle as a result.
The ult zoning is going to be enough. Just holding that pressure at bay as 369 rotate up to top. Tapped, but it's not going to be a death blow by any means. Dragon's still got a minute to spawn. And I think TES are leveraging to go for 3 inhib towers here, bare minimum.
Oh boy. They haven't been able to tag JiaQi's Edge of Night spell shield yet either, so even though he doesn't have cleanse anymore, he is quite safe to step up this aggressively. Jiejie trying to occupy 369 on the top side push, but there's 2 inhibitors now gone in mid and bot. The poke from JiaQi is starting to wither away from Weibo Gaming's health bars. And eventually, you called him, Melvin, they finally make their way through all 3 inhibitors. They're looking for the final push. Solar Flare right into the back line. Zika flashes in, but a great step past Preston's blocks the entrance from him. Jiejie cannot follow up just yet. Cyclone still at the ready, but Zika's trying to do all the work he can. Cyclone onto 2 members. 369 trailing right behind Elk as he flashes on top, but the great push for the scout of the week. 369 gets dropped way too early. Weibo Gaming have lost all 3 inhibitors, but they still have 1 Nexus turret available, and the Cloud Soul for them is about to spawn.
It's enough to hold on for dear life, but it's not enough to feel comfortable with. Double super waves are coming in all lanes, and I don't think between Jin and Syndra you're going to feel comfortable sending Wukong out of the base to go for a clear. We do have Creme teleporting in to make sure that Jiejie does not get to this pit, but it is all but done. Double soul point for both teams now, as potentially Creme fishing quite aggressively for a play. I think if you get a single pick here, the game could end.
Oh wow. My goodness.
That was close. We didn't get to see it, but Creme pretty much took Jiejie for everything it was worth. Nearly got that GA proc, which is going to be very important when we get around to what could be the last fight of the game. Now, as TES absolute respect. They have been playing an incredibly good reserved game. And when I say reserved, I mean it with the utmost respect. They have not overplayed their lead. Creme in particular has been standout with JiaQi getting maximum value without getting caught. And if they can keep that up, this game is all but theirs. All of this minion pressure is going to make it so difficult for Weibo to allocate their damage onto the enemy champions.
Creme has made very little to almost no mistakes this game, and compared to his counterpart Xiaohu, who, despite some great plays with the Syndra and this being a great comfort pick, there have been a couple moments in this second half of the game that has given Top Esports the window completely pry open the game and now set up Top Esports for a potential victory march now that all 3 inhibitors are gone and Baron will spawn in the next minute.
Can you find
Solar Flare and Scatter the Weak on the Fengyue. Flash from Jiejie goes immediately for JiaQi in the back line.
He's gone.
Finds it with the curtain call. One more bullet in the chamber. Who is he going to look for? Fengyue gets hit by the Scatter the Weak stun. That's a double kill for Elk. 369 throws everything in the chamber that he has to try and blast out Jiejie, but will drop his GA as a response. Zika retreats back into the safety of the base. 369 has to get out. There are double supers pouring into the base, and it's going to call upon the attention of Weibo Gaming. Top Esports, do they feel confident in trying to still end? Creme still alive. No teleport available. 369, no teleport either, and somehow just like that, Weibo Gaming hold on for dear life.
They see the angle, JJ forces the play, and it is enough to keep TES at arm's length. Those inhibs will be respawning in the near future, but not soon enough to give a walkout angle to the Baron. There's jungler available, smite up. That's the thing, if you get all 3 inhibs, it's just such suffocating pressure. The benefit is that Weibo are getting so much gold fed to them off of these minion waves, along with the extra XP, as we do see both top laners up to their level 20 mark. Everybody, bar the support now, is level 18. We are as strong as we can be on the Rift, and finally, we have that GA picked up for JiaQi, which is going to be necessary. We saw as one of the first members taken out in that fight. This Varus poke is something that really can be curtains for Weibo, but it was Elk who sealed the curtains on TES in that last siege.
It's so poetic that both AD carries for what could be the last fight of the game have GA in their inventories. They have been the most important members of this game so far. Creme making a close race for also most important member on this composition in our opening series, in our opening bout between Top Esports and Weibo Gaming of this season. Erha getting chunked, Chain of Corruptions, barely goes wide. Decent poke from JiaQi in the backline, trying to chunk out the Leona. Zika taking a lot of damage as well. Fengyue locks him in for the dredge line. Curtain call from Elk, poking them down. 369, pressuring forward, forces Elk to drop the ultimate. Dredge line finds Xiaohu. Creme can follow up and just spears them all with the power of his soldiers. Emperor's Divide rams them over, and Elk, even with the GA, it does not make the difference. Zika trying to blast 369, but at what cost? But the Nexus falling, and Top Esports claim the first game in this series.
That was an incredible look for Top Esports, picking up their first win of the split, game-wise, and it is such good fashion, I will say. This does not look like the same team in all of the games we've seen thus far. 369, great form, exerting a lot of pressure, and being the backbone to allow a lot of these engages to go off. And I mean, we talked about them so much throughout the game, but they deserve their flowers. Creme and JiaQi played an amazing game between them. Such reserved play, very rarely ever picked. In Creme's case, never died, which is an achievement in himself. I'm predicting Creme for MVP just off the back of that alone.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, if you told me this is how TES are going to end a game, triple inhib off of a Baron, play reserved, force down the Nexus towers with minion pressure. They lose a fight in base, but then they come back after Baron and just let the minions do most of the work. They were putting so much pressure on the flank that I think the Weibo members were just completely stuck at that point. You had to do something, and there was no good angle.
Ever since Kanavi left this roster, I think a lot of concern has been who steps up on the two returning veterans for this squad to be the brains and essentially the shot caller for the team. And the fact that 369 and Creme right out from the gate in opening week were really fumbling to help provide the structure necessary for this team to succeed was the driving concern for us going into the series. Now, this first game, before we start giving flowers to the people that we didn't expect to step up, thank God Creme can pull games like this still in the year of our horse 2026, because if Creme was going to be fumbling the bag like he was, even with the massive leads he got on the Silas in the prior series, or just not being able to do virtually anything with his signature Akali, then I was going to be extremely worried, because these are the two teams that we expect are trying to fight and not be in 5th or 6th seed by the end of the regular split.
And I think if TES played against BLG like that, we have a much more competitive series. I think we go to 3 games if we have TES in this kind of form. And now the question is this the exception or is this the new rule? And Game 2 is going to be very telling for what TES can put together, as we get a bit of the post-game stats right now. Again, this is, I would say, considering it was a 42-minute game, a relatively low kill score. 35 kills. I was, don't get me wrong, this is my first split, I'm still new here. But I expected a lot more blood, I expected a lot more death. And this was just a really good game. Like, I want to keep pushing how reserved TES were playing. Like, they went for smart plays. I would say this, what we're going to get on screen right now, was the most what the hell is happening for the entire game. And it was what the hell is happening in brackets positive for TES. Having more members come into this play over time and JiaQi really clutching up at the end there was essential. And I don't know.
This fight was the equivalent of the back and forth roller coaster of it's so Jover, we're so back, it's so Jover, we're so back.
Yeah, this is what I expected the whole game to be. And the fact that this was the exception was good. Good for TES, like, expectations-wise. But also, it showed that Weibo could fight back. They just kind of got ran around a little bit. And so, I know that we've been giving TES a lot of credit. That's because the expectations at the start of the split were a bit higher. Then they were in the floor. And now they're kind of in the middle. And I think that the fact that we didn't have the entire roster show up for Demacia Cup kind of added to the fact that it took TES a bit longer to get going, a bit longer to build up that synergy, particularly with the solo laners. And I would hazard a guess that's probably part of the reason why they look to be so lacking in the first weeks. They hadn't built up that ability to work with the support, work with jungle, and generate themselves a lead. But we saw NaiYou camping the hell out of top lane this game. 369 got that early lead, and he was not allowed to drop it under any circumstances. And it was really important by the end of it. We saw how much pressure the Crocodile drew. It was enough to get that initial dragon off on the side and just kind of be this nuisance that never let Zika do Cassante things. And we've seen some really stupid Cassante things so far.
Yeah, because even then, Zika still found a couple of great moments. Oh, I didn't even notice that auto and minion. That's unfortunate.
I didn't see that either.
Zika, put behind by the pressure of 369 and NaiYou, still found ways to influence and impact the game. But this was not just Creme playing his best game of 2026 so far, deathless on the Azir, but also 369 actually stepping up and ensuring to still be a reliable rock for this team. Exactly. At his best, 369 is always someone that you can count on, even when the rest of top esports is completely lost, even when Kanavi and JiaQi were still on the roster in 2025, right? That's why I was just so concerned where even 369 was rolling threes a majority of the time in our opening week. It's like, oh guys, come on, we can't all be fumbling the bag. But this is a sign of light for top esports. Now, it's still a series. There's still a chance for Weibo Gaming to bounce back. And we have not talked about Weibo that much in our post-game analysis so far, Melvin, and immediately, Xiaohu, what the hell, man? What is going on?
It wasn't the most egregious I've seen, but it definitely...
No.
Xiaohu, if he was playing on peak form, could have been the difference maker this game. It was close. There were moments where if you have a more defensive TP and don't get picked, you keep an extra tower. Very deserved. Well done, Creme. We'll keep singing the praises if you keep doing stuff like this. That was crazy work. But again, for his opposite number, Xiaohu, with the counter pick, still ended up getting picked by a few shuffles. Was it Creme outplay? Was it Xiaohu misplay? We'll have to see as it continues to go on. I think that there's a lot still to come from this series. I don't think it's going to be a quick 2 games.
Yeah, I think you're right that it wasn't Xiaohu's most egregious performance of 2026 so far yet. There were a couple of awesome Scout of the Week stuns, but once again, the thing that has plagued Weibo Gaming the most is late game discipline and dying when it is the most crucial to stay alive and just not give those over for free. And as an experienced member like Xiaohu, I expect better. We expect better. But that is game 1 wrapped up. We've got more action for this top esports Weibo Gaming series.